Hello friends, I'm George, the nice medic gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys. I hope that all of you are doing good. Now I'm very excited about today's video because today I'm going to show you what has turned into my new favorite Lattafa fragrance. Now up until recently my favorite Lattafa was Amir Al Oud Intense, and I still love that fragrance, but what I'm about to show you today has turned into my new favorite Lattafa. And on top of that, it's a great clone of Initio's Paragon. The fragrance is called Vintage Radio, it's part of the Lattafa Pride line, and today I'm going to review this fragrance for you. I'm going to start with the packaging of the fragrance, and since this is a Lattafa Pride line fragrance, you know that you're in for a treat when it comes to the presentation. It's very lavish. You get an outside box that's in this sort of a brownish color. On the front you get, like a picture of the actual fragrance bottle, the name of the fragrance, the concentration, EDP, bottle size 100 milliliters. On the back there's a sticker, additional information, production date, which is July of 2023. You open up the box, the cardboard box, and then you're greeted by a second box that looks like this. Again, you have Lattafa Vintage Radio. You open it up like a Zippo lighter. Inside sits the fragrance, and you also get that leaflet that comes as a part of every Lattafa Pride line fragrance. Once you get to the bottle looks like this. It's a white bottle that looks pretty similar to what you get with La Collection d'Antiquities 1886 that I showed you just recently. White bottle. That radio that's on the front is not a sticker. It has an interesting thing. You can feel it with your fingers. You got the name of the fragrance, again, concentration and all that stuff. The cap is plastic, feels kind of cheap, but the whole bottle has nice heft to it. And all in all, I like the presentation of this fragrance. If you enjoy my videos guys, but for some reason you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It will really mean a lot to me, and also don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads. Okay, now let's talk about the note breakdown of this fragrance. I'll quote the Lattafa's official note breakdown. The top notes are lavender, sage and bergamot. The middle notes are plum, Palo Santo and black pepper, and the base notes are sandalwood and amber oud. Now it's almost the exact complete note breakdown of Initio's Paragon. I think Initio has agar oud on the dry down instead of amber oud, but the two note breakdowns are very similar, and the scents are actually quite similar as well. I'll show you the sprayer in action. It's a very nice sprayer. And now about the actual scent itself. Now, immediately after spraying, you're greeted with a very nice, sweet and juicy plum note, and I absolutely love the opening of this fragrance. You get some freshness from the lavender, along with some creaminess from the lavender. You get some of the freshness of the bergamot, although it plays more of a support role. There's a slight sort of a spicy feel to it, maybe something like a peppery feel, that black pepper that's listed as a middle note. And you also get immediately quite a lot of sweetness from the, there's an amber note definitely that's not listed, but it's there right from the first spray of the fragrance. But I absolutely love the opening of this fragrance. That juicy plum note is absolutely fantastic. Once this starts to dry down, you lose a lot of that, all of the freshness from the from the bergamot. The lavender also starts to play more of a support role on the dry down. The dry down of this fragrance becomes quite a lot woody because of the sandalwood and the amber oud. It has a very sort of a creamy texture to it. The amber note is very strong on the dry down. You still get that sweet plum note as well from the opening, and the spiciness also goes away. So the dry down is pretty sweet, fruity and woody. When it comes to the, how close this thing is to the Initio's Paragon, the original scent that it copies, there's some slight variations. All in all, this is very close to the original scent, but this I think is a bit sweeter compared to Paragon. Feels a little bit more juicy in the opening. There's more amber sweetness again, more fruity sweetness and more amber sweetness in the opening of this compared to Paragon. Paragon also has a stronger lavender note, and the dry down of Paragon is a little bit more woody. I think there was an agar oud note in that fragrance, and this thing feels a little bit more spicy on the dry down compared to Paragon, but all in all it's quite similar. It's not a one-to-one clone, has a slight twist to it, maybe a little bit sweeter, but a fantastic alternative to Paragon. When it comes to performance, this is another area where I wasn't disappointed when it comes to vintage radio. I've been getting about 9 hours of performance of this fragrance on my skin. And the projection for the first 1 hour, it's very strong, and then it dies down a little bit for the second hour, and then becomes more of a skin scent after the second hour, but it's quite a nice fragrance when it comes to performance. When it comes to the price tag of vintage radio, I got it off Notino's website for roughly about 35 euros, I think slightly less than 35 euros, which will translate into something like roughly $40. When it comes to the versatility of vintage radio, now to be honest, you know, the scent profile is quite sweet, so it's a little bit more orientated towards the colder months of the year. But I think you can get away with this because it has you know, enough freshness and spiciness in the opening in warm weather as well, as long as you don't go too heavy on the trigger with this fragrance. And also, in my opinion, this is a perfectly unisex fragrance, so I think it's a pretty decently versatile fragrance. And onto my final words and my final thoughts on vintage radio from the Lattafa Pride line. As I said in the opening of this video, I think I found myself my new most favorite Lattafa fragrance. This is a very good alternative to Initio's Paragon, and I absolutely love the opening of this fragrance. That creamy, sweet, juicy plum note in the opening is absolutely fantastic, and I really love it. For me, this has been a love at first sniff, and especially if you can get it at the price point that I paid for it, you know, about 30-35 euros or $35 to $40. What you get in return, the great performance, the high quality scent profile, and on top of that, a very good and close alternative to Initio's Paragon. I think it's a very nice deal at the end of the day. Perfectly unisex fragrance that also is pretty versatile as well. All in all, as I said, it's been a love at first sniff for me. Vintage radio from the house of Lattafa. And so guys, in today's video I showed you what I think is my new personal favorite Lattafa fragrance from their Pride line called Vintage Radio. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that I'm going to see you in my next video. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.